Okay, thank you very much. This is January 9th, 2026 with the VIHE, and we're going to be studying Nectar of Devotion, chapters 36 and most of 37, which is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, 3.2, verses 1 through 92. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvase Susunyavadi Paskajade Satarni Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Vanchakapatrubhischa Kipasundariyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So I'd like to acknowledge help from David Haberman's translation of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, as well as Bhanu Swami's translation of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in this presentation. So Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu means the ocean of the rasa of devotion, the ocean, the nectar ocean that frees us from death. And this Western ocean deals with the 5 primary rasas: neutrality, servitude, friendship, parental, and conjugal. Servitude is a huge section, so we're dividing it into 3 parts. So this is the second wave of the Western Ocean. Servitude, we're looking just at verses 1 through 92, which is Nectar Devotion chapters 36 and most of 37. I just want to remind everybody that the way Srila Rupa Goswami organizes every wave of the Western Ocean is that first he describes the Staibhav and the rasa, the relationship between the Staibhav and the rasa. Then he talks about which is the Staibhav is the basic relationship. The mango in the mango lassi. The mango lassi is the rasa. The mango is the Staibhav, or the basic relationship. Rasa is the full taste that needs the other 4 bhavas. Then the next thing he discusses are the stimulants. And he always talks about first vibhava alambana vishaya, what form of Krishna, what qualities of Krishna, what aspects of Krishna are the object. Then he talks about the vibhava ashraya, what devotees do we meditate if we want to cultivate servitude, what devotees do we meditate on? And there's a huge section on that today because there's all these varieties of devotees in servitude. Then he looks at vibhava udipana. What are the various stimulants specifically for people in that rasa? And then he always looks at anubhava. How do they manifest their love for Krishna voluntarily? Then sattvika bhava. How do they manifest their love for Krishna involuntarily? Then the vyavichari bhavas. What are the changing emotions that are particularly associated with this rasa? Then finally he looks at the Staibhav itself. He looks at the nature of the Staibhav itself. He looks at the Staibhav in terms of degrees, and then he looks at meeting and separation. Now, we're not going to do meeting and separation today. We'll be doing that on Monday. We're not having any class Saturday or Sunday this week. So then we look at meeting and separation. And then on Tuesday, we're looking at a different category of servitude. Okay, basic understanding of the servitude rasa, which is always what he starts with. His definition, this is called the Priti Staibhav. The Priti Staibhav, or Dasya Staibhav. Sridhar Swami, in his commentary on Bhagavatam 10:43-17, says that servitude is the highest rasa. Of course, we could say it's kind of the essence of everything. The writer of Nama Kaumudi, Lakshmi Dara, calls priti, or affection, the stai rati, or the staibhav, or the rati of dasya rasa. Rasa, again, is the whole taste. The staibhav is the basic connection, the emperor, the king of the bhavas in that taste. And Sudeva, these are all different references cited by Srila Rupa Goswami, calls affection the rasa of neutrality rather than servitude. So different authorities have different points of view, but Srila Rupa Goswami's conclusion is when priti or adoration achieves a pleasurable nature by vibhavas, anubhavas, sattvika bhavas, and vyavichavi bhavas in the hearts of devotees. It is called priti bhakti rasa or dasa bhakti rasa. So Srila Rupa Goswami is saying that this priti or adoration, affection, adoration, is the Staibhav. Srila Prabhupada does not use the word priti, he only uses the word dasya, probably for simplicity, so we don't have all these different terms to memorize. So there's types of servitude. There's the Sambrama Priti and the Gaurava Priti. So the Sambrama Priti is what we're going to be looking at today and on Monday. And the Gaurava Priti is what we're going to be looking at on Tuesday. So Sambrama Priti is a recipient of mercy who acts as a servant, a subordinate who acts as a servant, and there are many subtypes. And this is all covered in Nectar Devotion, chapters 36 to 39. And the Gaurava Priti is covered in chapters 39 and 40. And again, we're just going through the end of 37 today because the rest of 37, 38, 39 will be going over on Monday. So here we're looking at the servitude rasha, just some Brahma Priti category, just this particular category. Servitude is a little complicated. I think servitude is nice because all of us, even if we haven't realized our eternal Staibhav with Krishna, we're all servants. Jivera Swabhaya Krishnera Nityadasa. We're all servants. Even you could say that Vatsalya Bhav, which appears to be the opposite of servitude, where you're Krishna's superior, still there's always some aspect of servitude. And Dasya is one of the 9 processes of bhakti, even for the beginners who haven't realized their Staibhav. So I think there's a lot of real nectar and a lot of really useful enlightenment here that we can find, even if we're just beginners in bhakti. Okay, what is the vibhava? The alambana. Vishaya is Krishna. Ashraya is going to be the devotee, and udipana, the various stimulants. So these are all the things that bring out this rasa of servitude. And again, vibhava has these categories. Vishaya, the object of affection. Ashraya, the devotees who are in the same rasa. And udipana, other stimulants, varieties in relation to Krishna. So what is the ashraya? And I'd like you, as we're going through this, we're going to have a breakout room to discuss which of these qualities of Krishna inspire us in service. Which of these inspire us in service? Because no matter where we are in our bhakti, 1 week into bhakti, 10,000 lifetimes into bhakti, realize our Staibhav, not realize our Staibhav, we all are inspired to serve Krishna. And so which of these qualities inspires us in service? So Krishna's form. So his 2-armed form is the alambana, Vishaya, for the inhabitants of Gokula, and either the 2-armed or 4-armed form is the alambana for the devotees of Krishna residing elsewhere. Krishna's form in Vraja. When Krishna walks near Govardhan Hill, inhabitants of heavenly planets as well as this earth. Oh, I gotta fix that, huh? Okay. Feel transcendental bliss and consider themselves the eternal servants of the Lord. And Krishna out of Gokula, his 2-armed form, if a dark cloud is endowed with lightning and decorated with the sun and moon, it is similar to Krishna with dark complexion and yellow cloth, holding the chakra like the sun and the conch the moon. Wow, what a nice description, something we can remember when we see the sun and the moon in the sky. And Krishna's 4-armed form out of Gokula, Lord Vishnu is very beautiful with his Kaustubha jewels, conch shell, disc club, and lotus flower. He is also very beautiful riding upon the shoulder of Garuda. But now the same Lord Vishnu is present as the enemy of Kamsa, and I'm completely forgetting the opulence of Vaikuntha. So as going on with this Vishaya, looking at Krishna's qualities that especially act as a stimulus, as a lambana Vishaya for those in servitude. And again, I want you to really meditate on these qualities, form these qualities to discuss in our breakout. Krishna's qualities from whose bodily pores come millions of universes. Wow, that inspires one in service. That Krishna is an ocean of mercy. That's particularly going to inspire servitude because the servants feel that they are objects of Krishna's mercy. They are subordinate to him. The owner of inconceivable energies. That might really inspire you. Wow, what a master I have. So many energies, always equipped with all perfections. That might also really inspire us in servitude. The origin of all incarnations. Well, again, do I want to serve this person? The origin of all incarnations. Please make notes to discuss which of these you find particularly inspiring. The attraction for all liberated souls, right? The famous Atmarama verse that Mahaprabhu spent such a long time talking about. Even Mahaprabhu has this mood of service to himself. And so he likes to meditate on this Atmarama verse. The supreme controller, wouldn't we want to have as a master whoever is controlling everything, right? People want to serve the government or they want to serve some big business person because they're a big controller. What to speak of wanting to serve Krishna? And supremely worshipful. This is a picture of Prabhupada worshiping the Lord. The Lord is worshipped by all living beings, all cognizant. Wouldn't we want to be the servant of someone who knows everything, right? He could definitely give us good direction. Fully determined, we know that whatever our master says, he's going to do. Fully opulent. Of course, Prabhupada says that the servant enjoys on an almost equal level with the Lord. The emblem of forgiveness. Well, that's really important as a servant because when you're a servant, you're going to mess up sometimes, right? So it's nice if you can have a master who's very forgiving. I mean, Indra really messed up. He is in the category of Dasya, as we'll see in the Ashraya section. Protector of surrendered souls. That would also be something very inspiring for a servant. I'm surrendered to him. He's going to take care of me. Very munificent, how that would really inspire someone to serve him. True to his promise. Oh, that's the best master. Best master is someone who keeps his promises. Here he's promising to protect his devotee Arjuna. He broke his promise not to take up a weapon, but not really, because the wheel wasn't a weapon. Very expert. Always good to have a master who's expert. All auspicious. Wouldn't we want to be serving a master where everything was auspicious, powerful? Right? Hiranyakashipu wanted to be the most powerful, but actually Krishna is the most powerful. And wouldn't we want to have, let me serve that person who's the most powerful? Religious. He acts according to the scripture. Again, would we be inspired to serve a master who's religious? The eye of the scripture, he sees everything according to scripture. He doesn't make things up. He's not whimsical. Friend of the devotees. So even though this is servitude, not friendship, still there's some feeling of affection. We know Krishna is my friend. He cares about me. He's my well-wisher. He's very magnanimous. Whatever service we offer, he rewards unlimitedly. Very influential. He can influence everyone and everything. He's very grateful. How nice to have a master who notices and reciprocates with our service. Very reputable. Everybody wants to have a famous master. Full of all strength. He can conquer anyone. Why wouldn't I want to serve him? Submissive to pure love. That even though I'm just a servant, I'm an insignificant servant because if I have love for Krishna, then I know that he's going to want to make me happy as well. The only shelter of devotees who are attracted to him by the affection of servitorship. Okay, we're going to try a new thing with the breakout rooms. We're going to try having you choose your own breakout room. And we've categorized them. We've got 2 rooms just for men, if you want to be with just men, because I had that request yesterday. 2 rooms with just women, if you want to be with just women. 1 room just for Hindi speakers, if you'd like that. If you'd like me to set up a room for a different language for next time, I could do that. And 3 general rooms. I would ask you that each time we do a breakout room, go to a different room. If I see that one room is very crowded, I will move you around. So I will move you around if I see that any room is very crowded, but I will move you to a similar room. Okay, so for 10 minutes, what we're going to be discussing is which of Krishna's qualities especially inspire you in service to want to serve Krishna and give a reason. Everyone probably will have time to talk about one. So now we're going to go through the Ashraya section. Again, Ashraya is what brings out the devotee's love as other devotees. What other devotees specifically bring out are particular
He's
type
asking us.
of love. Please mute. So if we think of it in an ordinary example, if you're a pujari, the other pujaris may bring out your mood of service more than the book distributors. So if you're in Dasyabhav, the other Dasyabhav devotees are going to bring out your mood perhaps more than the devotees in the other rasas. The devotees in the other rasas would be an udipana. So this is going to be a little complicated and a little technical. We have subcategories and sub-subcategories. So it is a little complicated. It does require a little bit of attention. As we go through this, I'd like you to take some notes on which type of servitors inspire you in your own service and love, or which categories or which specific kind. As I mentioned yesterday, in the Ashraya category, Srila Rupa Goswami usually focuses on one particular Ashraya. Here, because there's so many categories, he's going to be focusing on different persons in different categories. So generally, the Ashrayas, the devotees in Dasyabhav who are impetuses. By the way, this is so important, this Ashraya, because once we realize our relationship with Krishna, one of the main things that we're supposed to do as part of our bhakti is meditate on those specific devotees who are similar to us. So that's the reason why Srila Rupa Goswami's written this book. That's the reason that Srila Prabhupada made a summary study in 1969, because this is how we're going to advance and achieve Krishna Prema. All right. So the Ashrayas are humble. They're in harmony with the Lord's will. They're confident. They have submission due to a predominant awareness of the Lord's majesty. That's even true for the Vraja servants, although it may be, oh, he's the son of the king. He's the son of Nanda Maharaj. Okay, so this is where it gets a little complicated here, that there's these four categories of Ashraya in the servitude Rasha. Again, this is the first category of servitude. We're going to look at the other category of servitude on Wednesday. So within this one subcategory of servitude, he's the sub categories. Okay, so there's the Adhikrita, the appointed servants, like the demigods. Okay, you take care of this, you take care of this. There's the Ashrita, those who the Lord protects. The Parishad, those who are Krishna's associates, and the Anuga, those who are following in the footsteps of the Lord. So the Adhikrita, Ashrita, Parishad, and Anuga. So some of the demigods are also under the protection of the Lord. So some servants are in more than one category. So we'll look at each category now individually. Appointed servants. So Jambavati and Kalindi watch through lattice work and discuss how Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Indra's are meeting with Krishna. Oh, look at all those demigods meeting with Krishna. Under the protection and shelter of the Lord. So they want to gain freedom from fear, they want to gain knowledge, and they're appreciating the Lord's sweetness. So these are three types. Of course, there might be some combination. By the way, in Shantaras, there may be again some desire for liberation, not just Brahman, but those in Shantaras think, I want to be liberated to be with the Lord, not for their own pleasure. In Dasyabhav, the service of the Lord is the main thing. Not just to be with the Lord, but to serve the Lord. So even if one has a material body, one can still do service. So therefore, the Gyanis now, they might have been Gyanis, but now they appreciate the Lord's greatness. Okay, another way of describing devotees under the protection and shelter would be those who see the Lord as their protector, who were previously in sense enjoyment, previously Gyanis interested in liberation, or fixed in service from the beginning. They've always been in service. So here we're looking at the Nitya Siddhas and the Sadhana Siddhas. So sadhana siddhas who were interested in bhukti, sadhana siddhas who were interested in mukti, and nitya siddhas. And just a reminder that ashraya devotees can be also sadhakas who are on a high level, majjhima sadhakas. Okay, devotees who want freedom from fear are examples of this are the kings kept in prison by Jarasandhar. Another example is Kaliya. You have today shown extraordinary mercy to me, Kaliya, the worst offender, by marking my head with your footprints. Wanting freedom from fear. A devotee saying, I've carried out the orders of my masters, namely lust, anger, avarice, illusion, and envy. They are not satisfied, nor are they kind enough to give me relief from their service. O head of the Yadu dynasty, I am taking shelter of your lotus feet. Please engage me in your service. So freedom from fear of our bad qualities. Wanting greatness and knowledge. These are the Brahmanas headed by Shaunaka in the forest of Namasharanya. Let me serve the Lord to get greatness. Let me come under his shelter to get greatness and knowledge. So appreciating his greatness and knowledge, those who are attracted to meditating on the form of the Lord instead of being fixed on a supreme truth beyond meditation. They want his greatness. And those who are under his protection because they appreciate his sweetness. So here we have Lord Shiva and Indra, who are also, again, appointed servants. So they're in both categories. King Bahulasva, Ishvaku, Shrutadev, and Pundarika. And an example of this is you attract liberated souls. This is the Atmarama verse. And even sages like songs of your glory. I dedicate my life to your service. So I want to serve you because you are so sweet. I want to serve you because you are so sweet. Okay, now we have the third category, the Parishada, Krishna's associates. So we have his associates in Dwarka. And key Ashraya devotees here are Uddhava, Daruka, Satyaki, Shrutadev, Satrujit, Nanda, Upananda, and Bhadra. So if one wants to be a servant of the Lord in Dwarka, these are the personalities that one will meditate on. By the way, Uddhava was mentioned previously in the Southern Ocean as having a mixture of servitude and friendship, but servitude is prominent. So if the devotees have mixed rasa, they're usually referred to by their prominent rasa. It's also of note that Uddhava does stay permanently in Vraja in Shantaras as a creeper. Okay, Parishad in the Kuru dynasty, in the mood of servitude, is Bhishma, Parikshit, and Vidura. So that would be those who want to serve the Lord, like in Hastinapur, in Indraprasth. They would meditate on these devotees. And now Srila Rupa Goswami is going to describe, he does this again in each of the waves. He's going to describe something about these ashraya, and he doesn't do it for the first two categories. He's doing it here for the last two categories. So they're constant associates, the Parishad. They have lustrous bodily features. Their eyes are like lotus flowers. They have enough power to defeat the strength of the demigods, and they're always decorated with valuable ornaments. Their mood, again, because if we're going to meditate on them, right, if we're going to meditate on these ashrayas, if we want to be in Dasya Bhav and we want to meditate on them, we have to have some information to meditate on. Because as the devotee develops their relationship with Krishna, they meditate on the specific form and attributes of Krishna that bring out that mood, and they also meditate on the specific devotees who have a similar mood. So their mood is they offer their intelligence to the Lord, they constantly glorify the Lord, they have crying in the other sattvika bhavs, they're fearless, and they're ready to do service. I think even those of us who are sadhakas who haven't realized our Vaibhav can try to adopt some of this mood in the sense of being Krishna's servant in a general way. All right, now, as I said, Srila Rupa Goswami likes to pick a particular devotee that he focuses on, even though there's so many. So for the Parishad, he's going to focus on Uddhava. So he likes, and as a devotee progresses in their inner life of bhakti, they may find that they have a very specific person that they meditate on as being similar to them. So it's not that everyone in Dasyabhav who wants to be in a parishad is going to necessarily meditate on Uddhava, but that could be a starting place until through revelation one understands more of one's nature. So Uddhava has a dark complexion like the Yamuna, wears yellow cloth. He wears the garlands used by Krishna. He specifically says that. He has arms like door bolts and eyes like lotuses, and he's the chief of the parishads filled with waves of bhakti. And usually the example that Rupa Goswami gives is the leader of the group. His mood, Uddhava says, the controller of the demigods follows the orders of Ugrasena. He owns universes but beg land from the ocean. He's an ocean of wisdom but consults me. So this is what inspires Uddhava in service. I remember we were saying how in Shanta they have anubhavas, they have activities that are serving Krishna, but they don't think Krishna needs their service. They're not in that mood, but the servants, they're saying, even though Krishna's so great, even though he wants to take service from me, he wants to take service from me. He needs my service. Although he's so great and he doesn't need my service, yet he needs my service. So this is the mood of the Parishads. The followers of the Lord in Dwarka, Madana bears the umbrella over the head of the Lord. Suchandra fans with the white chamara. Stutamba supplies betel nuts. Okay, so this is the fourth category of servants, and this is in Dwarka. And now again, he's going to describe something about those servants. He says their forms and ornaments are almost the same as those of the Parishads. So again, for one's personal meditation. The followers of the Lord in Vrindavan, we have, these are the servants, again, who are in this fourth category of followers of the Lord, specifically in Vrindavan. We have Raktak, Patrak, Patri, Madhukanta, Madhuvrata, Rasala, Suvilasa, Premakanda, Manandaka, Ananda, Chandrahasa, Payoda, Bakula, Rasada, and Sharada. Of course, there's infinite numbers. Rishi Rupa Goswami is giving us some of the chief, and then he's going to tell us about their form and their mood again. So their form, they're decorated with garlands of pearls, with bangles and bracelets of gold. They have bodily colors like black bees or like the golden moon. And they're dressed just to suit their particular special bodily features, so much individuality. Their mood, Mother Yasoda saying, Bakula, please cleanse the yellowish dress of Krishna. Vadika, you must perfume the bathing water with a guru scent. And Masala, you must prepare the betel nuts. So now again, Srila Rupa Goswami is going to pick a chief example to meditate on. So that this, he's giving us the information for our own meditation if this is our mood. And again, those of us who are beginners, we don't know our Vaibhav, everyone's a servant of Krishna, and we can certainly meditate on these servants. So Raktak, bodily color like newly grown grass. This is a painting of Raktak, actually. Yellow clothing and a beautiful singing voice. Raktak, his mood. He says, please place me so that I may always be engaged in the service of the Lord, who has now become famous as the lifter of Govardhan Hill. So we're going to look at three moods of the intimate servants. So this is for both the Parishads and the Anugas, those two categories. We're not looking at those who are under the shelter of the Lord. We're not looking at appointed servants. We're looking here at the devotees who are associates and following in the footsteps. Anuga is more intimate than Parishad. So there are three categories of each of these. Durya, or best. They have suitable affection for Krishna, his intimates, and their servants. Dhira, or confident. Okay, Atul, you wrote something in the chat. Is that a question, or why are we studying these? Is that a question, Atul, Prabhu? Why are we, is this a question? Why are we? I'm not sure if that's a question.
Yeah, it's a question.
The,
It's a
okay,
question.
okay, okay. The reason we study these. So let's say that you're a beginning devotee, you don't know your eternal relationship with Krishna. Okay?
Yeah,
You don't know. You just know that you're a servant of Krishna.
yeah.
So how are we going to find out our relationship with Krishna? Well, first of all, we have to purify our heart. We have to get rid of our anarthas. We have to follow the regulative principles and so forth, because until we cleanse our heart and we clean the mirror of the heart, we're not going to see ourselves clearly. Now, part of that purification is that we meditate on the pastimes of Krishna with his devotees. And what Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada and all our acharyas say is, as you meditate, as you read and hear about Krishna with devotees in a particular mood, what will happen as you become purified is you'll think, I want to be like them. So as we went through the descriptions of the Shantaras, some of you might have been thinking, yeah, that's what I want to be. As we're going through these descriptions of the Dasya Bhav, some of you might be thinking, wow, I want to be like that person. That's the mood I want. And not an intellectual thing. Not, oh, yes, philosophically, that's what I want to be. But, oh, I want to do that. That, our acharyas, including Srila Prabhupada, says, indicates our eternal relationship with Krishna. So the main way we're going to find out our eternal relationship with Krishna is to become purified enough so that we can have this response, and then to expose ourselves to these descriptions so we can see what resonates with us. Think of it in a mundane level, right? You're going to decide what kind of job you're going to have. You're going to meet people who have those different kinds of jobs. You're going to hear about those different kinds of jobs, and some of them are going to say, yeah, that's what I want to do. All right, now for the devotee who's already realized something of their Staibhav, that awakening has already happened. They're like, yeah, wow, I want to be in Dasyabhav. I want to be one of Krishna's servants. Or I want to be in Shantaras. I want to be a bumblebee. The process of bhakti is that along with all the main items of bhakti, one especially meditates on these vibhavas, because that's what stimulates it. So it's just this little plant of, oh, I think I want to be a servant of Krishna eternal. I think that's my eternal rasa. So the sunlight, the water, the fertilizer is the vibhava. That's what stimulates it. And the vibhava is the particular form of Krishna and qualities of Krishna that are going to stimulate servitude. The particular devotees who have the same mood that are going to stimulate servitude, and the particular udipanas that are going to stimulate servitude. And one should especially, the injunction is, the instruction, the science of bhakti yoga, is that once one gets that little sprout, one meditates on everything with Krishna, but especially those things that nourish one's devotion. So this meditation is essential to awaken who we are, and then it's essential to nourish who we are. Now, I like this. Santa Vigraha says that in the Moga Artik song about Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Rasala and Jambula prepare pan for Krishna to enjoy. Very nice. Does that answer your question, Atul Prabhu?
Yeah, yes, it does. I was thinking, you mentioned the Dwarka devotees. So
Hmm.
it's a geographic sort of consideration that like those who are in Dwarka would go to those Dwarka devotees for that type of relation. Uh,
Well, if
can you?
one wants, I mean, geography is commensurate with one's mood. So if you have the mood of wanting to serve Krishna and Dwarka, you would particularly meditate on the devotees in Dwarka. As we go through this description, some people might go, oh, I want to serve like those devotees in Dwarka, or I want to serve like those devotees in the Kuru dynasty, or I want to serve like those devotees in Vrindavan. And then they would go to the appropriate realm. All right, we have some time. We will have some time for questions later. So I don't think I can take any more right
Okay,
now.
okay, okay,
Okay.
no problem.
I hope that was helpful though.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so we have the Durya. They have suitable affection for Krishna, his intimates, and their associates. So they have affection for Krishna and his intimates and his servants. Then you have the Dhira. They particularly serve Krishna's women. They particularly serve Krishna's women. They're not so much serving Krishna, they're serving Krishna's women, either the queens or the gopis. And you have the Vira who just serve Krishna. They don't serve anyone else. So the Durya serves Krishna and his various devotees. The Dhira is serving just Krishna's devotees, particularly the women, the servants of the women. And the Vira, they're just serving Krishna. Uh, Now, the Vira, they're not offensive. They're just that's their mood of love. I just want to serve Krishna. So let's look at the Durya. They express love for Krishna, the lovers of Krishna, and towards those who serve the lovers of Krishna. So they serve Krishna, Krishna's servants, and the servants of the servants of the servants. Here's an example. Raktaka is classified among the Durya, or those who are always attached to serving the gopis, but not just the gopis. So Raktak serves Krishna and the gopis, and the servants of the gopis, and everyone. Okay, Dhira, they don't particularly serve the Lord, but they are serving one of the Lord's devotees. They are a servant of one of the Lord's devotees. So we have an example of the son of Satyabhama's nurse who used to live with Krishna as his brother-in-law, like a brother-in-law. So he was particularly a servant of Satyabhama. He was one of the queen's servants. And then we have Vira. They only serve Krishna. And here we have an example. I do not expect anything from anyone else. I simply expect the favorable glance of Krishna upon me. Not even Balaram, not even Pradyumna, not even Satyabhama, just Krishna. And here we have an example from Bhagavatam 4:20-28. Prithu wanted to serve the Lord's feet with confidence that the Lord would accept his service, even if the goddess of fortune objected. He said, "What use is she to you anyway?" And then, of course, we have these categories as explained in general about Ashraya. Prabhupada in Nectar Devotion calls these neophyte, perfect, and eternally perfect. So the sadhakas, but these are only sadhakas who've realized their relationship with Krishna in Dasya above. So these would have to be Nishta and above, the Majjhima Adhikaris. Sadhana siddhas, those who are siddhas through mercy or through some degree of mercy, and through sadhana, and the Nitya siddhas. Okay, we're going to go into breakout rooms, and if you can discuss which servants of the Lord particularly inspire you. Again, I've set this up so that you can choose. So, but I will move you around if rooms get crowded. Okay, 10 minutes. Which servants inspire you in your service? I see some of you are already back in the main area. Does that work okay with choosing your own groups? If there's any more languages that people want, just let me know. I've got a Hindi language group if anybody wants another language group. Okay, we're going to go over the Udipanas for yeah, I got to note that the person who made the request for men's only room isn't even here today. Such is life. You could let him know for next time that I've been able to figure out how to do that. So these are Udipanas. Some of the unique ones that are just for this rasa are the causeless mercy of Krishna, because these are recipients of the mercy, the dust of his lotus feet. Like the parents, they don't want Krishna's mercy. They want to give him mercy. They want to give Krishna mercy. Now, when the gopis want the dust of Krishna's feet and his prasadam, that's a little bit of dasya there. Uh, and association with his devotees who are also in servitude. So attaining mercy. Bhishma says, "See Krishna's mercy to me, the most fallen. Krishna has appeared to my eyes at the time of my death." In Nectar Devotion, Prabhupada writes, Bhishma says, "I am most unfortunate. I have no qualification. I was opposing Krishna's most intimate friend, Arjuna. I even tried to kill him. I have so many disqualifications, yet the Lord is so kind." And then Udipanas for servitude that are also applicable to the other rasas: Krishna's flute sound, his bugling, his smiling, his glance, his footmarks, his qualities. although we mentioned qualities that are specifically in the Vishaya category. Fragrance of his body, the appearance of a new cloud in the sky, and the lotus flowers. Okay, an example that Srila Goswami gives for the flute is hearing the sound of Krishna's flute. The 1,000 eyes on Indra's shaking body are shedding tears. Okay, so we're going to take a break. We'll take an 11-minute break. And so that'll be, if you're in London, it'll be till 1:15 here on the East Coast of the United States. It will be 8:15. If you're in Delhi, it'll be 6:45 p.m. Okay, we're going to look at the Anubhava of the servitude Rasha. We're looking at, again, the Sambrahmapriti category of servitude. So again, Anubhava is voluntary expressions, either mild or more distinct, throwing about. And we have an Anubhava for servitude, being completely involved in serving according to one's capacity. Oh, the word two in that slide. Friendship with the Lord's servants, with absence of even a trace of envy on seeing the excellence of other service and being fixed in their love, which are all considered Chitta, are the special Anubhavas of the Dasas. So these are voluntary attitudes, but they're cool. They're not big ones. What a nice mood of service. Being completely involved in serving, and the examples given is that when Daruka was fanning Krishna with a chamara, his body became increasingly paralyzed, but because that bliss would be an obstacle in serving Krishna, he did not welcome the ecstasy. So prema has two varieties of qualities, stamba and other symptoms, the sattvika bhavas, and the desire to please the Lord. And the servitors are much more interested in doing their service than in their symptoms of ecstasy. And here's Anubhava, the bigger Anubhava, dancing. Srudadev was so joyful that as soon as he saw Krishna, that after bowing to the Lord's lotus feet, he stood up and began to dance. I should add a comma there. Okay. Again, dancing. Although you are not an expert at dancing, your spectacular routine shows that you have learned dancing from the guru called Prema. So this was spoken to a cowherd boy. Sattvika bhav in the servitude rasa. So again, what is a sattvika bhav? The heart becomes overwhelmed. So the sthai bhav is stimulated by the vibhavas and the vyavachari bhavas. It becomes overwhelmed. And one's, oh, I feel so much love for Krishna. And this is either a direct or indirect sthai bhav. This results in sattva in the heart, which is the cause of the anubhavas. So you get some relief from your feeling by acting, and the sattvika or involuntary bhavas. These are the involuntary sattvika bhavas, and all of them appear in servitude. Here's an example. Taking hold, Srila Goswami always gives examples. Everything's backed up by Shastra. Taking hold of the Lord's lotus feet, Bali spoke from his melting heart. So that's the sattva in the heart. Tears of ecstasy filled his eyes. The hairs on his limbs stood on end. He began to speak with faltering words. That's 3 sattvika bhavas. Then the Vyavichari bhavas. So these are the 33 Vyavichari bhavas. And these are 24 that appear in servitude, jubilation, withering, silence, disappointment, moroseness, reverence, thoughtfulness, remembrance. These are almost impossible words to translate, by the way, into English. Doubtfulness, confidence, eagerness, indifference, restlessness, impudence, shyness, inertness, illusion, madness, ghastliness, contemplation, dreaming, disease, and signs of death. So there's a distinction between meeting and separation. So if the devotee is meeting Krishna, then they're going to have Vyavichari bhavs like jubilation, pride, and perseverance. But if they're going away from Krishna and they're feeling separation, they're going to feel ghastliness, disease, and signs of death. And the remaining 18 can be there either in meeting or separation. So then you have uh, 9 more that do not generally nourish dasiras. This is the concept of favorable and unfavorable, but they can under certain circumstance. I don't know why in the chat you're talking about the Rasalila because we're on servitude, not conjugal. Okay, the Vyavichari Bhav of joy in servitude. Again, Shri Goswami is giving examples. The citizens began to speak to receive the Lord with choked voices and joy, their faces cheerful with affection, just as wards welcome their guardian and father. So this is an example of the choked voices of the Sattvika Bhav and the Vyavichari Bhav of the joy, and the Anubhav of speaking to welcome. Joy in servitude, Bahulasva, seeing Krishna, fell to the ground, thinking he would offer respects 100 times, but being agitated by joy, he forgot to rise up. So he had an Anubhav of offering obeisances and the Vyavichari Bhav of joy, which also gave him a Vyavichari Bhav of confusion. Vyavichari Bhav of withering in service. As the sun evaporates all the water on the ground by its scorching heat, so my mental state has dried away the luster of my face and body due to separation. And separation meeting we will discuss, Krishna willing, on Monday. Disappointment, as if Yavichari Bhav, I have thousands of eyes, but they have proved to be useless because not even for a moment are they able to see the Lord. So here we have disappointment in separation. Okay, we have some time for some questions on anything here. Anything we've discussed so far, if anyone has any questions. There was a question in the chat, but I did not understand it. So there was a question by Atul, Gopi song of separation, Madhuram Astaka, just hear the flute, what to speak of understanding that. No, that wasn't the question. The question was by Santa Vigraha. How do we reconcile, for example, the Vishadas Bhakta who serves Krishna only with the Kanista, who only sees the Lord himself, but not the other devotees? Santa Vigraha, would you like to actually speak and explain what your question is?
I was just seeing that one of the qualities of the Vira Dasya Bhakta that he only serves the Lord. So I was just thinking, like, we have the example of the Kanishta Bhakta who only serves the Lord but doesn't recognize the other devotees. So I was just wondering, like, the mood of the actual Virya Bhakta in relation to the other devotees in that sense.
Okay, thank you. Excellent. So one is because one is a neophyte, and the other is because it's a certain type of ecstasy. So for the Kanistas, they don't know how to relate to others. They all they can do is relate to the Lord, and they usually think that the Lord is only, in my temple. They tend to be very sectarian, like that. It's a very immature view of devotion. It's these people who really give religion a bad name all over the world. God is only in the temple. God is only in my temple. I don't know how to treat others nicely. Whereas the servants who are Vira, they're just Krishna servants. If you think about, like, let's say in the British royal household, which I don't know very much about, but let's just say, the royal household, you're going to have some people who just serve the king and some people who just serve the queen. Like I'm sure that King, what's his name? Charles, right? I'm sure that King Charles has his own personal servants. They only serve him. They don't serve Camilla. They don't serve anybody else. They just serve him. That's it. They're not offensive. They're not mean. They just serve him. And then I'm sure he has servants that just serve Camilla. I'm sure Camilla has her own servants that just serve her, that don't serve him. And then there are servants that serve both of them and serve everyone generally in the royal household. So you have some of Krishna's servants that are serving Krishna and his various devotees. You have some servants who are just serving Krishna's devotees, especially his women. And then you have some servants who are just serving Krishna. So that's their particular mood. Whereas the Kanista is very limited and very sectarian and not developed in their consciousness at all. Is that okay?
That's very clear, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay, excellent, excellent, thoughtful question. Thank you. Mahalakshmi?
Yes. It's a very simple, small question. While mentioning the Vyavichari of Bahulasva, who was bowing down and he forgot to get up. And what kind of Vyavichari was that? I didn't get
That
it.
was joy. He was so happy. He was feeling joy. And he also definitely had a Vyavachari Bhav of confusion.
Confusion, joy and
Yeah, so
confusion.
both joy and confusion. He's thinking, I'm going to offer 100 obeisances to Krishna, and he offers one, and he starts feeling so happy and so confused that he completely forgets that he wanted to offer another 99. He just stays there on the ground.
Thank you.
Vinodini?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, can you explain a bit in brief about the difference between the Dhurya and the Veera? Because both of them seem to be serving Krishna. Veera, I understand that
Yours
they are
just
serving the women of Krishna. Sorry, Dhira serve the women of Krishna, but
yes.
Dhurya and Veera.
So the first category they serve, they do service for Krishna, they do service maybe for Krishna's women, they do service for the other cowherd boys. They're a general servant. Just like, in an ISKCON temple, you have some devotees that do general service for everyone. They may do service for the temple president, they may do service for the GBC, they may do service for the temple president's spouse, they may do service for all the devotees and guests that come. They do service in general. And then you might have someone who just serves the GBC. They don't do service for anybody else. They just do service for the GBC, nobody else. So you've got the category of servants who are serving Krishna and his devotees in general. You have the category of servants who are just serving Krishna's servants, especially the women, Krishna's women, the queens, a servant to the queen or a servant to the gopis. That's their exclusive service. And then you have some who have an exclusive service. They're just serving Krishna. Hey, this thing has to be done for Satya, and then they're going to refer it to Satya's servant. It's not going to be done by them because they're just serving Krishna. Does that make it clearer?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Sure. Pineshwari Lakshmi?
I have another question. I have two questions now, but actually the question that she just said, Vinodini Mataji asked. So when you say that they are just serving Krishna's women or his devotees in Dhira, so they don't have to be serving Krishna directly, just serving that his women or his associates is satisfying enough for them?
Yes. That's what they
Okay,
want.
interesting.
That probably isn't you. That's probably not your eternal position, because you look at that and you're like, really? Would they be happy with that?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm guessing that's not your eternal position in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are going to be servants who are going to be, I just want to be there to serve Rukmini. I just want to serve
Okay.
Satyabhama. I just want to serve Lakshmana. That's the case also in Vrindavan. I just want to serve these gopis, and they're not doing any service for Krishna. Of course, they're seeing that as their service to Krishna.
I'm imagining that they are getting their thrills, if you want to say that, just by seeing their service to Krishna then.
Well, Krishna is still their Vishaya. We talked about this previously, right? With those who like Radha more than Krishna. Krishna is still their Vishaya. I mean, like let's just say on the material level that you have children and you hire a nanny to take care of your children. So they might not be doing anything for you personally at all. I mean, sometimes some nannies will also do some cooking and cleaning. But I mean, when I was little, I grew up with servants, and we had one servant who lived in the house who did like the cooking and cleaning. I remember we had another servant who just did like laundry or something. They didn't stay there. And then we had a nanny who just took care of me, at least until I was like 3 or 4 years old. And the nanny they didn't do any cooking, they didn't do any cleaning, they didn't do any laundry. They were just taking care of me. But that was definitely service to my parents.
Okay, got it.
Although they
That's
were,
good.
I suppose they were my personal servant. Although I don't think I thought like that when I was 2 years old. But they were, they were my personal servant. They weren't, yeah, they weren't doing anything directly for my parents, but their mood was they were employed by my parents. They weren't employed by me. I
Right.
wasn't paying their salary.
Right.
And they were really trying to please my parents. Yes. Is that right?
Okay, yes, thank you very much. Good example. Other question I had is in these Adhikruta appointed servants of the Lord, how does somebody who's attracted, let's say, to Lord Shiva, let's say, how does that attraction, like how does that appear? I'm just trying to think. Those people that are attracted to Lord Shiva, are they attracted to Lord Shiva because of his relationship to Krishna? That's what makes them
If they
that
were in
versus
Dasya Ras, yes.
versus Lord Shiva as independent personality.
Yes. You could say that
Right.
Ganesh
Okay.
is in that category. He's a pure devotee of Krishna who
Hmm.
is as a servant of Lord Shiva and attracted to Lord Shiva. Yes. Excellent question. Okay, we don't have time
Okay.
for a whole lot more. We'll also have some time at the end. Could Gauranga Mahaprabhu be considered the Vishaya? That's a very, very, very good question. And I'll tell you what I understand. I'm not going to give this answer as this is the answer, but I can tell you what I understand. So we are very much warned against seeing Lord Chaitanya as the Vishaya in terms of Krishna. Like the Prabhupada says that it's a deviant sect who sees Lord Chaitanya as the enjoyer, and Vishaya means the enjoyer. So Srila Prabhupada's very, very, very clear, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Srila Bhaktivinoda, all of our acharyas are very clear that one should not see Lord Chaitanya as the Vishaya, that disrupts his mood, that he's in the mood of the Ashraya, not of the Vishaya. He is trying to do service for Krishna as the Vishaya. My only kind of niggling thing would be that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says that some devotees are only in Gora Lila. So some devotees are only in Krishna Lila, some devotees are only in Gora Lila, and some devotees are expanded and in both. But so one might say, well, if you're only in Gora Lila, wouldn't you see Gora as the Vishaya? But it doesn't seem that that would be the case. That even if a devotee is only in Gora Lila, they're assisting the Lord in seeing Krishna as the Vishaya rather than Gauranga as the Vishaya. So that's my understanding. I may be mistaken on this point, and if anybody has any other evidences in this regard, I would welcome them. Okay, I'll take one more and then we have to go on. Shri Katamrita. Yes, correct, Santa Vigraha.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances and gratitude for your long life service. You're such an inspiration, and I'm eternally
What's your
grateful.
question? Yes.
Now, question. Please forgive me my ignorance, but I've been meditating for quite a while about the difference between ashritas and anugas. To be more specific, surrender versus like follower. Because to me, when you surrender, you automatically kind of follow. So on a practical level, how we could implement that in our service mood or
Well, you'll notice that all of those who are ashritas, they all kind of want something. You know, they're looking for something. Let me get the Lord shelter because he's so great and he will give me shelter in this way. And the other two categories are not, they're not in that mood. So therefore they're considered more intimate servitors. I mean, it's fascinating to me that even among the prema bhaktas, even among the pure devotees, there are still degrees. You know, like you reach a certain level that you're pure. You're a pure devotee. You're in the spiritual world. But like if you read the Ujjwala Nilamani, which is where Srila Rupa Goswami goes into much more depth in all these areas for the gopis and the queens, you'll see that it's only the gopis who have this absolute oneness of interest with the Lord, and the queens have moments where they're thinking of their own pleasure. And in those moments, Krishna is not attracted. But they're pure devotees, and they're Krishna's eternal consorts. So these devotees who are there for Krishna's shelter, there's something, I mean, the residents of Vaikuntha in general, for example, they all have some attachment to the items of liberation. So that is also there. Atu, you're saying Santidasa, what are the main devotees related to these rasa? Well, that's what Srila Rupa Goswami's given us in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He's giving us the main devotees in the Ashraya category. Okay, we need to go on. Sorry, I'm sure we could have a 6-hour class on each of these, but I don't think it would work with anybody's life. Okay, so now this is the Staibhav of the servitude rasa. And again, we want to emphasize that this is a Sambrahma Priti. This is the category of Sambrahma. We're going to be looking at the other category, Krishna willing, on Tuesday. So the essence of the Staibhav, again, the Staibhav is the king of the bhavas. It's like the mango in a mango lassi. It's the most important ingredient in all of the 5 bhavas, but you need all 5 bhavas together to have rasa. You can't have rasa just with the Staibhav. So here, Srila Rupa Goswami, he's been looking at all 5 components. He's looking at the rasa, dasya rasa, defines dasya rasa. Then he looks at the vishaya, ashraya, udipana, anubhava, sattvika bhava, vyavichari bhava. Now he looks at the nature of the sthai bhava. So this is eagerness to execute service. That's the essence of the feeling. I want to render service. Now, there's going to be some respect or reverence, either that Krishna is God or Krishna is the son of Nanda and is therefore very respectable. So there's going to be some reverence here. An example of this rati or staibhav, a chorus saying, today all my sinful reactions have been eradicated and my birth has become worthwhile, since I will offer my obeisances to the Supreme Lord's feet, upon whom mystic yogis meditate. Another example, when will I have the good fortune to offer respects to the Supreme Lord in the form of a cowherd boy, fond of the Kadamba forest on the Yamuna River? Now remember, in Shantaras, they also offer respects, but not to serve. They offer respects just because they're like, oh, wow, the Lord is so great. They don't think he needs anything. So the servants are offering respects out of a mood of service. What is the cause of rati? So we have the sadhana siddhas and the nitya siddhas. So the cause of rati is, for those who become perfect, usually sadhana, and rarely mercy. Usually there's some kind of activity that invoke the mercy, and there's always some mercy involved with sadhana. And nitya siddhas, so Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary says, for the nitya siddhas who appear on earth, the so-called cause of their staibhav is their existing impressions that they come to earth with. Now, as we said, for each of the rasas, each of the staibhavs of the rasas, Srila Rupa Goswami gives intensities. So you notice there were 2 levels of intensity in Shanta Ras. Here there's 3 levels of intensity. This is in Sambrahma Priti, particularly category, Prema, Sneha, and Raga. So we're going to be discussing this intensity in our breakout group. So please pay attention to this section. So Prema, the first level of intensity, someone in Sambrahma Priti becomes fixed. They're fixed, that's why I have the columns. And they're convinced that their love will never decrease. And anubhavas are things like complete attachment to the Lord. An example of Prema is Balimars saying he'll not be disturbed in his service, whether he's in heaven or hell. He's fixed in his service. Next level of intensity, Sneha. Prema becomes very thick and the heart melts, and one cannot tolerate even a moment's separation. These are the symptoms. Each of these levels has symptoms. An example of Sneha, so he gives the definition, the symptoms. An example, Daruka, whose melted heart produced gushing tears and in separation seemed like a wooden doll. Another example of sneha. Uddhava having a river of tears and choked voice when praying, having goosebumps and being stunned. So these are 4 sattvic abhavs and 1 anubhav. And the highest level of intensity of servitorship is raga, that with Krishna, sorrow becomes happiness. Without Krishna, happiness becomes sorrow. And one will do anything to please Krishna, even giving up one's life. So an example of raga is Parikit, who is just satisfied to hear of Krishna, even though he wasn't having food, water, or sleep. And the devotee is saying that if Krishna is a little merciful to me, I'm carefree in fire. And if I don't have his mercy, I don't care about a lot of wealth. So the types of servitude and the intensity of love, the appointed servants only achieve up to prema. The ashrita, servants under the Lord protection, only achieve up to prema. The parishad can achieve up to sneha, although some of them have, like Duruka and Uddhava, may have a touch of raga. And the anuga can experience up to raga. So these are generally the anuga in vraja, and they might have some friendship. Okay, this is going to be our last breakout room, and I want you to discuss the levels of intensity of love, how love can intensify. I think I'm going to make this a little bit shorter. I'm going to make this just like 7 minutes. Okay, this is again, please choose your room. Okay, just reviewing again how things work, that you've got the primary staibhav, which is stimulated by the vibhav, mixes with the Vyavichari bhavs, and the secondary staibhavs produces a state of sattva and results in anubhavs and sattvika bhavs, which all together produces rasa. So we have about 10 minutes. If anybody has any general questions, and maybe the organizers could set things up so that we can have like side-by-side spotlight, that would be great. Or anybody who has questions.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes.
Mataji, how do we distinguish the prema here and prema as the highest stage of our devotional progression, starting from Shraddha to prema?
Yeah, but then there's subcategories within that. So even if you're going to talk about, say, bhajana kriya, there's anista bhajana kriya and nista bhajana kriya. And when you come to prema, we talk about prema as the highest, but actually then there are higher levels above prema, and that depends on the rasa. So in Shanta, there's just 2 levels. Here we're having, in this area of servitude, there's 3 levels of intensity. So it just like Krishna is described as perfect, more perfect, and most perfect. So there's prema, intensified prema as sneha, and even more intensified prema as raga. And these levels and the type of levels is different for each of the rasas. Does that help?
Okay, Mataji.
Okay, very nice. Nikunja Manjari?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat. Mataji, if you can, please, I just got a bit lost between prema, sneha, and raga. With an example where we can relate, maybe from mundane point of view, an example, or I don't know.
So, okay, we talked about the symptoms of these. So if we look back at the symptoms, so we have in prema, you're just like, I love this person, I'm going to love them no matter what. You know, think about like when people get married and they say in sickness and in health, you know, and whether we're rich or poor or sick or health or good or bad, I'm just going to love you no matter what. I'm fixed in my love for you. Then with raga, with sneha, that you can't be away from Krishna for a moment. You're just like a moment's separation becomes like a yuga. It's intolerable. So that's not true in prema. It's not the same degree of intolerability and separation. But in Sneha, it's like I just have to be with you all the time. And then in Raga, you're thinking being with you makes bad things good, being without you makes good things bad. And I'm willing to die for you. I'm willing to die for you. I remember hearing one man, he was talking about that when his son was born, his first thought was, I'm willing to die for you. I've just met you. You've just been born, but I'm willing to die for you. Think about, if you want a mundane example, well, even a transcendental example actually is Sita and Ram. She says, being with you in the forest will be heaven, and being away from you in the palace will be hell. So that's on the platform of Raga. Is that all right? And that's not existing in the less intense. Mahalakshmi, yes.
Well, now I think it's much more clear, because I had thought of Mother Yasoda. She was breastfeeding her child. What is there more desirable for a mother than breastfeeding the child? But the milk was coming out, and it was his milk. So although she was with the highest exchange with him, it was very desirable to go to the milk because it was going out. Would be that an example of raga?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Thank you. And Garangi Gantarvika just wrote in the chat that in Spanish, there's different degrees of saying I love you. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this properly. Te quiero means I love you, but you only use this with friends or relatives. Te amo, you only use for your husband, wife, parents, and children. More deeper, more intimate. Yes, very nice. Santa Vigraha? Maybe we should have a Spanish group if we have enough Spanish-speaking people here.
With reference to Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are different gradations of prema, rati, sneha, mana, pranaya, etc.
That's for conjugal.
Or that's specifically for conjugal.
Specifically for conjugal, yes. So
Okay,
each
so I was just
of the
wondering if-
rasas, has its different amounts of intensity and different kinds of intensity. So like we saw in Shanta, there were two kinds of intensity, and they had different names than we're finding in Dasya. So each of the rasas have a different number. Here we have 3 instead of 2, and then different names. And even in Dasya, they apply to particular types of devotees. Yeah, so the list you're giving is conjugal.
Okay, so I guess these terms, even though they use interchangeably, like if using it it's contextual, in other words. So
Correct.
raga, prema, sneha in this context is reference to dasya, whereas when we speak about sneha, etc., and raga in conjugal love, it's a different context.
It's going to be very
Different
similar,
teaching.
but a little different, yes.
Okay.
Nilamani.
Hey, Mataji, Danut Pranam. Mataji, I'm just struggling in today's session with the whole concept of Dasya Bhav and Krishna Lila. And that's because generally we don't hear too much Krishna Lila that involves Dasya Bhav. So I'm just was wondering why Rupa Goswami didn't focus on examples of Hanuman or Prahlad Maharaj or maybe other, kind of Krishna pastimes, Krishna Lila, not specifically Krishna Lila, where Dasya Bhav is much more prominent.
So why he didn't focus on...
Well, or why we don't have more examples related to, classical examples of Dasya Bhav. Like many of the devotees that we listed today, they're not very commonly known or heard or that type of thing.
Yes, that is true. I guess he didn't want to make the book much bigger than it already was. But, he has emphasized that the goal of life, he emphasized this earlier, can be for any form of the Lord. And, he does give a little bit of mention of, okay, these are devotees in Vaikuntha, these are devotees in Dwarka, these are devotees in Hastinapur. These are devotees in Vrindavan. He's really just giving like some key persons. I mean, honestly, even for a lot of these lists he's giving, there's little or no description of them. The only, he'll pick one. He'll pick one chief devotee. He'll give a list of names, general descriptions of qualities in bhakti. Then he'll pick one chief one and describe that person in more detail. I mean, like for parental, his main description is of Mother Yasoda. He's not describing, he doesn't really get into, say, Sandipani Muni or all the, it's a mention, but then he goes deep into one. Now, as the devotee realizes their own internal state, they'll come to see that they have someone particularly that they want to follow. So maybe, one is following Mother Rohini instead of Mother Yasoda. That's entirely possible, or Parjanya instead of Nanda Maharaj. But that has to come from revelation because there's not much given by our acharyas on all these different personalities. But he's giving the list and then he simplifies it. Also, Srila Rupa Goswami definitely is including Vaikuntha. He's including Dwarka. Sometimes Ayodhya, not so much. But his personal focus is clearly on Vrindavan. That's definitely his personal focus. I hope that does that help?
Yeah, it helps. It just would be, it's when you think of Dasya, you just relate more to, I guess, at least I do, to Hanuman or Prahlad Maharaj, or more of the classic Dasya type pastime for the Lord. Thank you.
We have a question. Parikshit would be in Raga, but Parikshit, which category was Parikshit in again? I have to go all the way back.
In Raga.
Yeah, in Raga.
He was giving this example, right? That he was giving an example of Raga, that he was so detached from food or sleep that when he was hearing about Krishna, that normally a distressful situation became blissful for him, and that Raga is experienced generally by the followers rather than by the parishads. And we had Parikshit's example. Parikshit was an example of the parishads, yeah?
Why he was he's an eternal servant of Krishna, eternal associate, right? And so he's not a parishad.
Oh, he's in the constant associates category?
That's what Srila Prabhupada says about the Bhagavatam.
Anuga. Let's see again. Parikshit is a constant associate, so he's the parishad. So Parikshit is in the parishad category, which generally only experiences up to sneha, but it is mentioned that some have a touch of raga, so that some of the parishad can experience some amount of raga. I hope that answers the question. Shri Katamrita, and then we're going to say take you in Verdeshwari, and then we're going to end.
Thank you very much. I wonder if you could maybe elaborate a little bit on how this reverential aspect changes as the attachment deepens and the relationship deepens. If you could elaborate on that a little bit, and also if that can be somehow felt in our meditation or interaction with spiritual master. Is it like somehow connected?
Are you talking about just in servitude, Rasa, or are you talking about in general?
I'm talking about the whole range.
Okay, well, in general, what this switch will be that I'm serving Krishna just because he's so wonderful, not because he's God. The fact that he's God becomes less and less relevant to you. It just becomes less and less relevant and less interesting. That if somebody could come and give you quotes from some shastra that Shiva is God, you wouldn't care. You'd say, that's all right, I just want to worship Krishna. it wouldn't matter to you. You know, Krishna may be God, he may not be God, I don't care. So, you know, on a material level, the spouse of the prime minister, when they're alone together, is not thinking, oh, I'm married to the prime minister. Right. As far as with the spiritual master, our mood towards the spiritual master is always our spiritual master.
Could you please repeat, because I lost you?
I'm sorry.
I mean,
What is your native language?
The mood.
No, it was cut off, your sound.
Oh, it was better. And what is your native language?
The spiritual master. This is where.
No, I was asking you what your native language is.
Polish.
Polish, okay, because I'm thinking how many groups should we set up for languages?
I prefer English.
Okay. Even when in this world, even when we come to the platform of feeling very intimate with Krishna, still our relationship with Guru in this world is going to be reverential. We don't want to have like a buddy relationship with Guru. I remember hearing Bhakti True Swami talk about that. He said the Guru is your well-wisher and your friend, but not like a buddy. Because Guru has to instruct you and correct you. When Arjuna switches from seeing Krishna as friend to Krishna as Guru, then immediately Guru can correct. It's a little bit more difficult to correct a friend. Does that help?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Okay, I'm answering a question here in the chat. I don't know his initiated name. The David Haberman translated the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He's a very wonderful Vaishnava. He's initiated in the Pushti Marg. He's a retired professor. I know in Chaupati, Radhana Swami has had him give classes on the Vyasa-san. I've met him several times. So he translated Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. There is another translation coming out from the BBT shortly. Okay, I don't see any other question, and it is a little late. So we do not have class either Saturday or Sunday. I'm doing a special seminar all day tomorrow, so I can't also give class. But we will meet again, Krishna willing, on Monday. Anything good here is from Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, all of our acharyas, and of course, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Any mistakes here are mine. Please either correct or ignore the mistakes and take the good. Krishna willing, I will see you all on Monday. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.